Hello everyone, this is Robert here. This video is a brief introduction to Cisco Packet Tracer. So if you have never downloaded or you've never used these resources available in your Netacad account before, I strongly suggest you to get started. It's an extremely powerful tool that allows network administrators, network technicians, network engineers to troubleshoot networks, to design networks in a physical environment. Okay? So I'll just demonstrate to you guys how you can gain access to Cisco Packet Tracer. When you log in into your Cisco Networking Academy, you find that you have a tab dedicated to resources. If you click into this tab, there's also an option for you that leads to Packet Tracer resources. Okay? When you click into it, you actually find many versions of Packet Tracer available. In this case here, you can just browse to Packet Tracer download page. In this download page, you have a step-by-step on how to install Packet Tracer, and you also have all the different versions available for Cisco Packet Tracer. Okay, so I strongly suggest that you check your operating system version, your operating system capabilities before you install Packet Tracer. So if you have a Windows operating system, you can either download the 64-bit or 32-bit version. If you have a Linux desktop computer, you can just download the 64-bit version. If you have a Mac OS machine, you can also have one version of Cisco Packet Tracer installed. Okay. So nowadays you can also have access to Cisco Packet Tracer on your mobile phone. So if you have an iOS mobile phone, you can just download by scanning the following QR code. That's just going to redirect you to App Store. For Android users, it's just basically the same process, but you do it in the Google Play Store. Okay, so I hope this is all clear. So after you've downloaded Cisco Packet Tracer, the necessary version for your operating system, you can just proceed with the installation process, and at the end, you will hopefully have Cisco Packet Tracer installed into your operating system. Okay, I'm just going to open my Cisco Packet Tracer here. You guys can see here. I have it already installed. I just want to demonstrate a few things here for you guys. So we're just basically going to design a simple network topology, and I'll briefly explain why Packet Tracer is so important for you before you actually implement a network solution. And that is because it allows you to troubleshoot your solution. It allows you to test it before you can get it started with it. And that's pretty much all. So I'm just going to log in here to my Cisco Packet Tracer account. Just give me a moment. Just one more second. Should be in at any time. Now you shouldn't be getting this. I'm only getting this because my two-step authentication method is enabled into my Cisco Academy account. So you should probably not gonna have this. 557. So it's just the code they sent to my mobile phone. And after that, so as you guys can see here, before you can actually access all the resources available in Cisco Packet Tracer, you actually need to log in with your Cisco Networking Academy credentials. Okay, and that is because this is a student version, so you have to make sure you are enrolled into Cisco Networking Academy before you can have access to all Cisco Packet Tracer resources. All right, so this is just Cisco Packet Tracer, everybody. This is how it works, but just basically it provides us a workspace so that we can just design networks, so that we can test networks, so that we can troubleshoot networks, and so on and so forth. Okay? It also allows us to design some physical topologies, logical topologies, okay, according to the needs. Awesome. So let's get started with this, and let's just design a simple local area network. And for these local area network, we're only going to have three devices, three simple devices, okay? So the first device that we want to plug it in, that we want to put into our workspace, is a desktop, okay? So I'm just gonna browse into my end devices. So if you guys have already read Networking Essentials Chapter 1 and 2 from your Netacad course, you should be able to know that An end device is just a final source or final destination for a certain file or data. Okay, so you can see here we have many examples of endpoints or end devices, as we also call them. We have PCs, laptops, servers, printers, IP phone, VoIP device, phone, TV, wireless tablet, smart device. What else we got here? Generic wireless, generic wired, sniffer, and so on and so forth. Okay, so what we're gonna do here is let's get our PC. So if you want to select any of the devices in the bottom, you can just click into the device that you wish to select, and then you can just drag and drop the device whatever in the workspace that you want. So I'm just gonna drag and drop a desktop machine. I'm just gonna place it here anywhere in my network, in my space actually. Uh, so after that, I'm just gonna select another end device because I want to establish communication between these two devices. So I'm just gonna drag and drop a laptop. So the process is the same. So I'm just gonna click on my laptop, drag it, and drop it. Okay, just gonna put it here. All right. So now we got two devices. We have two end devices, and we want to establish communication between these two devices. Okay. So we are building a LAN one more time, and in order to make this work, we're just going to add an intermediary device to connect devices in a LAN. The simple device that can do that for us is a switch. So I'm just going to browse into my intermediate network devices, and I'm just going to grab a switch. As you guys can see, I click here network devices, and then I have many types of network devices available for my use. I can use a router, I can use a switch, can use a hub, can choose to use a wireless device, I can choose to use a security device. It might be a firewall, it might be a Cisco advanced security appliance. Here I can just select a WAN emulation. Okay, so now that we're only learning about local area networks, I'm just going to make sure I'll select the switch. And one more time, everybody, a switch is the simplest way that you can build an operating network in a local area. Okay, so I'm just going to browse into switch devices, and I'm just going to select a 2960 switch, which is just basically a basic switch. So it's got many ports, so you can connect many devices to this switch. Okay, one more time, just going to select the switch, drag and drop it in here between my devices. Okay, so the position where I place the switch or the position where I place the endpoints, it just pretty much doesn't matter. Okay, so this is just going to allow me to organize my network in an optimal way, and it allows me to understand the network a little bit better. Okay, so I could do like this, I could do like this, any way that I want, pretty much. Okay, so I'm just going to place it here on the left. It's more intuitive. Awesome. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go, and as you guys know, we already studied this, but we want to establish a network connection. Okay? There are actually three ways that we can establish a network connection, and that is wireless. We can use wireless in order to establish a connection between devices. We can use wired connections. It might be an Ethernet cable. It might be any other type of cable that I wish. And I can also use a fiber optic cable as well. Okay. In this case, for this type of devices, we're just going to use a standard Ethernet cable. Okay. So I'm just going to click. So where do I find the connection icon here? So as you guys can see here, it looks like a in this symbol here, it looks like a flash or something. If you click into it, you actually see all the types of connections that you can make between devices. Okay, so you can have a serial connection, which is done using a serial cable. We got Ethernet connection. It might be straight through, or it might be crossover cables, and so on and so forth. Okay, so I'm just going to use for this one, I'm just going to use automatic selection of cables. So if I click into the flash icon one more time, and if I click it from my PC, as you guys can see, it immediately connects a cable. Okay, and this cable is chosen automatically. that fits into that computer port. In this case, the computer had an Ethernet port available. So when I use the automatic selection, I can just select the device, and then the cable is automatically connected to the available port. Okay. Now I just need to click where the destination or the endpoint of this cable is. Okay. So in this case, I'm just going to connect it to my switch. Okay. And as you guys can see here, we get a few geometrical symbols in each one of the ends of the cables. You see a triangle with a green, so that's a green triangle. You have a orange circle. So the orange circle just basically means the network is still detecting the cable or still detecting some protocols that may be involved into the communication process between the devices. Okay, so just give it a little bit more time, and yep, so now it's green on both ends. That means basic communication is happening across this link. Okay, awesome. So now just the next step, I will take an automatic selection cable one more time, and I'm gonna connect from my laptop into my switch. So I'm just gonna follow the same procedure. Just gonna click into the laptop. As you guys can see, the cable is one more time connected to the laptop in its available port automatically. And then what I need to do next is just connect these port into my switch port. So the other end of the cable is going to be connected to my switch. Okay, awesome. And now one more time, give a little bit more time for the switch to think and to identify these connection, to identify these cable, and to start exchanging useful bits between these two devices. Okay, and then hopefully both links will turn out to be green. Awesome. Now a few things. This is an introduction to Packet Tracer. So there are a few things that you can do in Packet Tracer. So if you feel like the devices are too small and you are not able to see them properly, you can actually use the zoom in, zoom out function. As you guys can see here on the top of the screen, you have this icon and this icon. So if you do the plus sign, it just zooms in. If you do the minus sign, just do the zoom out. Okay? Awesome. It's pretty useful. It depends. So of course, the amount of zoom that you need depends on the amount of devices that you have connected to your network. Okay? Awesome. Now what do? I just want to identify these three devices as a LAN. Okay? I don't want them to be in my worksheet, so I just want to delimit them into an area, and I'll call this area my LAN. Okay? So what do I need to do is I'm just going to create a circle around these devices, and that's going to delimit these three devices to a LAN, and I'm also going to identify these LAN. Okay? So if you browse here on the top left side of the screen, you see that you have some geometrical figures. You can choose to draw a rectangle, you can choose to draw an ellipse, you can choose to draw something else, a freeform, and so on and so forth. So in this case here, I'm just going to choose to draw an ellipse. So if I click into the geometrical symbol that I wish, I can then just select what type of color I want to use for both the outline and the fill color. So in this case, I'm just going to choose a fill color. I'm going to choose a red color. Actually, no red. I'm going to choose a blue color to delimit my network. Just click OK. Awesome. And then hopefully now I can draw my form, and it's going to be a huge ellipse blue form. So let's do this. So while the palette still selected, I can just drag and drop my circle whatever I want in my worksheet. Awesome. So I'll just do this. I want to delimit these three devices, and now I just delimited my network. Okay. So if you, for any chance, you create more than one circle by mistake, an easy way for you to download forms, no, not to download, but to delete forms, to delete devices in Cisco's Packet Tracer is just basically pressing the delete button in your keyboard. So when you press it, I'm just going to close the palette first. So when you press the delete button, it just allows you to delete some forms. It allows also you to delete devices. Okay. All right. So what do we do next? We're just going to identify the devices here with their names, with their IP addresses, and so on and so forth. So in order to do that, you can identify multiple devices. You can identify geometrical forms in Cisco Packet Tracer. And in order to do that, you just create a node. As you guys can see on the top left, there is an icon that represents a node. So you can place this node anywhere into your design. So I'm just going to click into node. And as you guys can see here, I can place it pretty much anywhere. I'm just going to place it here inside my blue circle, which delimits my LAN. And I'm just going to type, this is going to be a simple LAN, a simple local area network, everybody. So I'm just going to click. And as you guys can see, now it's a form that I can move, put it anywhere that I want. So I'm just going to put it here, centralized, really nice, so it identifies my network. Okay, as you guys can see here, there are many ways we can create designs in Cisco Packet Tracer. Just showing you one of them. Why you try to do this by yourself? Try to choose different colors, try to choose different schemes, try to choose different devices. Okay, now after we have done this, we have already designed what we want to study or what we want to analyze here. Now I just need to make sure I'm able to communicate between PC and laptop. Okay, so there are actually two commands that I can use to do that. Okay, so if you came to class last week, you should pretty much know that we got two commands to test network connectivity, and those commands are the ping and the traceroute command, traceRT. Okay, so we're just basically going to use this topology in order to test these two commands. All right, so what I'm going to do next is, before I test communication between these two devices, I need to make sure they can be identified within the network. And a way of identifying devices within the network is by the IP address. Okay, so I'm just going to make sure I assign an IP address for PC0 and IP address for laptop, and then I can execute both traceroute and ping tests. Okay, let's place some nodes, so it's going to facilitate our lives. So I'm just going to click into node. I'm going to place it on top of the PC so it's easily identifiable. So for now, guys, you can just use the following IP addresses that I'm going to tell you. We're going to have a special lecture to discuss IP addresses, but for now, you just need to know that you have 192.168.0.1, which is an address space that is reserved for private addresses. So let's just do that, 192.168.0.1 for this device, and let's do the same and represent the other laptop as 192.168.0.2. Right, 192.168.0.2. Now all of my devices are correctly identified. If I try to ping from one device to the other, it's not gonna work. Okay? And that is because we haven't done anything yet. We haven't configured the device themselves yet. Okay? So what we just basically need to do is we need to get inside the device, into the device's configuration, and then change the device IP address. Okay? There is an easy way to do that. You click into the desired device, in this case PC0. I'll click it twice with my left button of the mouse, and then hopefully I should be able to see this. Okay? So this is a configuration window. If we just browse to desktop, we have a whole bunch of options to configure this desktop. All right? We are interested in the IP configuration, so if I just click into IP configuration, which is the first option we have here, I'm able to change the IP address configuration as I wish. Okay? So we're just going to go with the static IP address. So if I click here in the text box that represents the IP address, I'll be assigning this device an IP address. Okay? So I'm just going to type 192.168.0.1. This is going to be the IP address that identifies this device within this LAN. Okay? Now the subnet mask, you don't have to worry about knowing what the subnet mask is by now. but you just need to know that the subnet mask helps to identify the IP address, and it tells us special characteristics of these IP address. Okay? For now, you don't need to know it. We don't need to configure it. If we just press tab, it's going to be filled automatically. Okay? So for now, that's all we need. Just going to close the window. Going to do the same on the other end device. I'm going to click into the laptop. So if I just click once, it just opens up the configuration window. Okay? So now if I click into desktop one more time, it's the same for laptop and desktop. They're very similar devices. If I click into IP config, I'll be able to do the same thing. Okay? Just come here, IP device, and now I can just do exactly the same that I did into the other device. So if I type 192.168.0.2, so what happens is I'll press tab, and the subnet mask will be automatically filled. Okay, and that is because this address is a reserved address. That is what we call a public address, and the public addresses they have special characteristics, and we're going to discuss these characteristics later on in this course. Okay, now if I just close the window, I now have my devices fully configured. All right, now let's do the test and let's finish this up. So I can choose either one of the devices to execute my test. It could be the PC0 or it could be the laptop itself. I'm just going to choose the PC. I click in the PC once, and if I just browse into command prompt, I'll click into command prompt. I'm able to have access to a command line for PC0. Okay, now if I just type the command that I want, ping, for example, 192.168.0.1. If I type .1, I'll be just basically testing connectivity to this PC itself. So just basically going to work. So as you guys can see, we got 4 replies. Okay. Now there is another way of testing connectivity to the device itself, guys, and that is by using a specific address that is reserved for pinging, which we call loopback address, and this loopback address is 127.0.0.1. Okay, so every time someone pings a 127.0.0.1 address, you know that this address represents the device itself. Okay, so I'm just going to try to ping 127, and let's see what happens. 127.0.0.1. As you guys can see, we also have connectivity. Okay, now let's try to test end-to-end connectivity. That's what we call end-to-end, from one end device to the other end device. Just gonna do ping one more time, 192.168.0.2. As you guys can see, we have a reply back from the laptop. Okay, pretty easy. Okay, so now what happens, you might be wondering what happens if I try to ping a device that doesn't exist. So for example, I can try to ping a device that is .3 instead of .1 and 2. And what you expect to happen is that nothing's going to happen actually, because there's no device with this address. Okay, so there won't be any response back. And that is exactly what happens. It takes a little bit more time, and hopefully everything is going to time out, because of course this device doesn't exist. All right, everybody. So at the end of the test, it shouldn't exist. Awesome. The test is finished. Now we can just execute. So the ping command is extremely useful to test end-to-end connectivity, everyone. So keep this command in mind every time you are unsure or you're not sure that you can that you have connectivity between device A and device B. Okay. So another test we can execute is the traceroute command, which just basically tells us the path that the packet takes from the source to the destination. Okay. So if I execute traceRT command 192.168.0, so one more time, I'm going to try to do it in itself. So .1, and as you guys can see here, we only have one line of code, and that means the packet is not crossing any other network. It's just stays in its network and reaches the destination straight away. Okay. Now, if I execute this traceroute command one more time into the .2 address, So you guys can see the result is similar. And that is because, one more time, they are in the same network. Okay? So every time you have more than one line entry into your traceroute results, that means the packet is crossing different networks. Okay? Too easy? Too simple. All right. That was the introduction uh, for Packet Tracer, everyone. If you have any questions, feel free to reach me out. Try to do this by yourself as well. And it just basically helps you to do the labs as well. Of course, we have many physical labs available at CIT, but now due to COVID restrictions, we haven't been able to be there in the labs as we wanted to be. So you have Cisco Packet Tracer. Take advantage of these software in order to simulate your networks. It's just uh, extremely similar to what actually happens in the real world. Okay? So I'll talk to you soon. I'll see you and have a great night.